There are quite a few teams underperforming in the Premier League at the moment. Brighton Hove Albion, West Ham United, Manchester United, Newcastle United. But amongst those handful of clubs are Unai Emery's Aston Villa. The Aston Villa that pushed the European champions all the way not long ago. The UCL quarter-finalists. The Aston Villa that finished within the top 8 for 3 seasons running. And now 18th place. 1 goal in 5 games, struggling against 10-man newly promoted Sunderland. Now at this point last season, Aston Villa had 4 wins from 5. They had 10 goals scored and 7 conceded, which is a huge difference compared to now. That's 9 more goals scored and 9 more points on the table. And if we take a look at Aston Villa's start to the season, at each and every fixture, you'd have fancied them to win every single one before coming into it. The record against Palace is horrid, but you'd expect more than 3 draws and 2 defeats. The results are shocking, and the numbers look even worse. Villa, although a very questionable goal conceded at Sunderland, have been okay defensively. 5 goals conceded is level with Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, quite a few teams, but the shocking numbers are found in their aim to actually score goals and impact games. The stats are telling us that Aston Villa are spending lots of time on the ball, with the 4th most average possession in the league. They're spending lots of time in the final third, with the 7th most passes there. They're generating a decent volume of shots as well, around 10 per 90. But when we actually analyse the quality of these shots, where they're being taken from and where they are going, it's not a good viewing whatsoever. Villa have the 19th amount of shots on target, the 17th amount of shot creating actions, the lowest XG, just 1 successful take on leading to a shot, the 2nd worst chances created, 2nd worst carries into the final third, and hardly any switches whatsoever. This all details that Aston Villa are spending their time in possession too slowly, with no switches of play, no creative spark, no finishing touch. Why? Because their average shooting distance from the goal is amongst the highest in the league. Just take a look at this shot map against Sunderland. Half of their shots are outside the box, with just 0.71 XG all game. 0.25 of that came from a scrappy set piece as well. The goal Matty Cash scored was a howler from the goalkeeper, and some might say it doesn't matter how it goes in, and of course that is right, but that's relevant to teams who are actually scoring. That's probably relevant to teams that are looking to scrape any points whatsoever, lacking attacking talent. Villa do not lack attacking talent whatsoever. Villa are expected to score goals, and their source of goals should come from a little bit more than a goalkeeping howler and mistakes such as the goal against Brentford in the Cup. So what has happened to this attacking talent, and why are Aston Villa so poor? Now before we go into anything tactical, I think it's important to note that not everything is so tactics heavy. There's something clearly wrong with the mentality within the group. Unai Emery labelled them lazy, and I think that can be quite questionable within their approach yesterday. It seemed very flat, lacklustre, lacking any sort of inspiration, not just in front of goal, but also defending. The defending for Isidore's goal was absolutely terrible. There's 8 players there who were just ball watching. The ball is in the air for a good few seconds, yet nobody's committing towards it. Xhaka has a lot of space around him to generate the power to the header, the direction of the header, and he simply should not have that whatsoever. But something else that was quite interesting in Unai Emery's post-match interview is that it seems as if he's encouraging this slightly slower, shorter passing style of play. He mentioned that Harvey Elliott was moving the ball far too fast and needed to connect with shorter passes, which is interesting because overall, to me, when I watch Aston Villa, you can see what's slightly wrong here. There's far too much central dominance. Now, Villa last season, they play out from the back. They beat players, but they look immediately for those central players, Youri Tielemans and Morgan Rogers. They are the absolute key to the team in progressing the ball. Tielemans with his technical class and his passing of the ball forwards, and then Morgan Rogers actually powerhousing forwards himself. His ball carrying was unmatched. But for me, I think Aston Villa have become far too reliant on these pair, particularly Morgan Rogers, to create that attacking spark. Now that he's out of form, Villa are really struggling. But I think it does reiterate and emphasise the fact that Villa have 0 wide threats. This was the lineup against Brentford. And you can see who's holding width. It's Luca Digne and John McGinn. For one, John McGinn, he's a flexible player, he's a workhorse-like player. But why is he holding width on the right? That isn't exactly threatening for a fullback at all. John McGinn, although he's got good physicality and good size, that isn't really threatening, and he'd rather be in here. Luca Digne, he's not got the same energy as he once had. He's got a good cross of the ball, but he's very isolated here because the distance between him and absolutely anybody is huge, because Rogers from the left wants to come inside. All of their personnel wants to come inside. You look at the bench, Harvey Elliott, he wants to be inside. Even Bogart wants to be inside. The new signing wants to be inside. You've got so many players who want to be on the inside. Daniel Marlon, even Buendia as well. So there's too much of an overload inside, which is actually getting nullified by opposition teams. Teams are looking to simply be compact against Aston Villa, force them out wide. If you cramp out these central spaces, you're nullifying their best threats. Of course, Tielemans is injured at the moment, but he's probably their biggest creative threat with Morgan Rogers. So once the ball circulates out wide, there is not much threat going on whatsoever. McGinn is hardly a 1v1 monster that's going to beat his man. I know they just lost Leon Bailey, but you need to be prepared within recruitment. Digne doesn't have the same energy. He's not going to beat his man at all. So the ball is just going to recycle backwards as Villa try and force their way through the central spaces, and they simply can't. Watkins doesn't get many touches of the ball simply because centrally they are so cramped out. It's too congested, they can't play through that, and it's a really, really poor watch. And the thing is, with teams that are a little bit more centrally focused, they have answers for when opposition teams look to cramp them out and nullify them within this way. If we have a look at Manchester City when they won the treble, they had wide threats. They had Riyad Mahrez, Phil Foden, Bernardo Silva, Jack Grealish. They have a bit of an answer to wide threats. They have the answer of going direct towards Erling Haaland. If we look at a slightly different level, you have Leicester City of Enzo Maresca. They had 1v1 players out wide with Ben Fatawu and Mavazzi. So it's important that wide threat isn't just abandoned. It's so important because you can't just abandon the widths and just go fully centrally, which is why I think the introduction of Jadon Sancho is so important to them. As soon as Jadon Sancho is on that pitch, things happen. Sancho's not the most sharp within his fitness at the moment, and overall he's not the most amazing player in the world, but simply because there's a winger out there and he creates overloads out wide and he can combine, Villa play so much better when he's on the pitch. And now, because Aston Villa's build-up play and approach play has completely been nullified, it has defeated the confidence of a lot of these players. When they actually do get to these phases, when they can create or when they can score, they are completely and utterly useless. Nullified, lacking confidence, it's just not working whatsoever. So what you need to do is to have a little bit of focus play out wide, because you can't be so centrally dominant. You need to look at having wide overloads, and I think that comes with Jadon Sancho and players that are actually fit for this system, the way that Unai Emery wants to play, because you can't have Luca Digne and Matty Cash holding width in 2025. They don't have the energy to do so, they don't have the threat to do so, it doesn't work whatsoever. Ian Maatsen isn't the most amazing fullback in the world in terms of defending and recovering distance and being out of position whatsoever, but he can bomb up the line. He does have the energy to hold width on this side, but it's not about holding width and then the distance between him and the winger being so large with Morgan Rogers. It's about actually combining, and that's what you need out wide. If you start to overload the wide spaces, then you'll probably find that a lot of players shift across, and that's where your focus around the central spaces will come into light again, because there'll be space there again. Teams will actually look to shift across, they'll look to shift in their shape, and you'll find gaps. You'll find answers, and you'll be able to utilise your best strengths again. The personnel of Buendia, Matty Cash, Luca Digne and John McGinn out wide simply just do not work. And considering Unai Emery is such a tactical head, he's very tactics heavy, but is obviously a quality coach within his own respect. But considering he looks into this inside to the game so much, you'd expect him to alter a little bit, move away from that simple 3-2-5 shape. Maybe not move away, but just have different answers from the simple 3-2-5 shape and look for the right personnel to fit within this, because there's too much going on here within the central spaces and not so much out wide. Ultimately, every team has wide threats, even the teams that are so centrally focused. So Villa really need to find answers. Unai Emery needs to find answers, because he does have a lot of quality within the squad, within Sancho, within Elliott, even Marlon if he had a little bit of confidence about him at the moment. Some of the new signings, there's confidence there, there's quality there, and I think this just needs to be utilised. I think as soon as you find some attacking success, you'll find these central areas have opened up a little bit more, and the likes of Morgan Rogers, Watkins are thriving again, and so are Aston Villa. Too many players just want to be within these zones at the moment. Thank you guys for watching today's video. If you did enjoy, smash a like and subscribe to the channel. Where do you think Unai Emery and Aston Villa will finish this season? Will it be much lower than previous campaigns, or this is just a bit of a slow start to the season and they'll be absolutely fine? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.